Hello, welcome back to the Arturia CS-80V tutorial series, and today we're talking about voltage controlled filter, VCF. This is the thing that colours the tone of our sounds. We saw in the last episode that we've got two separate oscillators and we're still dealing with just oscillator 1 today. So we're basically dealing with everything inside this box here. And something that's really important to note right out of the gate is that the level of the VCF is outside the box. It's in the VCA section, and what this means is that the VCF is basically permanently hardwired. So even if there's no filter being applied, it is still an active part of the circuit. And what that means is if we hold a note down and reduce the VCF level, you will throw volume away because it's permanently wired. So the VCF actually incorporates two separate filters. We've got a low pass filter and a high pass filter, and they're both wired in series, so it goes through one into the other and then out, and we have an envelope that's going to be applied to both filters. We don't have independent envelopes for both the high pass and low pass filters. As things stand at the moment, we've not got anything turned on, none of these buttons are pressed down. If we press this, the LPF is now on, the low pass filter is now on, but it still sounds exactly the same as it did because we're currently letting all the frequencies through. So if I pull this slider down, we throw frequencies away until we're basically throwing almost the whole sound away. That's 20 Hz at the low end of our hearing range, and we can't hear anything. We also have a resonance setting, which if I just shrink this window, just bring a few of those frequencies back in so we've got a more interesting shape to look at. There we go. Now if I introduce resonance, the center point of the frequency of the filter is currently about here, and that's where we start tailing away on our frequencies. If I raise this filter higher, there we see the resonant point traveling with us. Speaking of resonance points, this is currently a 12 dB filter, which means that if I just reduce the volume of this a little bit so it's less annoying, for every octave we go beyond the frequency set by this slider here, we throw away 12 dBs worth of volume. If we want to accentuate that filter, if we want to throw more high frequencies away, we can turn it into a 24 dB filter. So there's your 12, and then by turning 24 on, we throw dramatically more of those high frequencies away. We also see that sharp spike of the resonant setting, or Q, as you see in lots of different synths. Okay, so let's talk about the envelope. Most interest in a filter is generated by the envelope because that's where you get movement over time as opposed to just a static value. At the moment we have this single static tone. It's nearly a normal envelope. We have an attack level, which is the level that you're going to get to after your attack period has expired. Here is our attack period, which is currently set to 0. So at the moment, despite the fact that we have 452 set on our slider, we're actually going to let all of the frequencies through initially, but because our attack and decay times are set at practically nothing, we're not hearing that. If we bring more of those in, we're going to get a period of time over which the tone is very sharp. Let's do that. So there you go, that's letting all the frequencies through during the attack cycle, and then we've got a decay cycle where they're tailing away again to this point here, to the point that we set by our slider. So we've got this slope up to our attack level, and it's currently letting everything through, and then decay slope down to our slider based level. And that's all pretty straightforward stuff so far. The wrinkle comes when we introduce this slider here, which is IL, initial level. And what this does is it tags an extra bit on to the beginning and the end of the filter envelope. So when we first press our key, we're not going to start at 452. We're going to start by a value that's lower than that. When the slider's all the way down, it has no effect, and we actually do start at 452. But if I increase this, now when I press the key, it's going to be a duller sound to start with. That it's really dull, as opposed to which is brighter as soon as the key is pressed. So this extra little bit that you can tag onto the front determines where our initial frequency starts, and by moving the slider all the way up, we're modulating it as far as possible. It doesn't actually start at absolutely nothing. We make the attack time as long as we possibly can. We do get sound right from the very beginning, and then you can see over a very long period of time the attack is letting the tones through. Eventually we're going to get to the point where the attack is letting all of the tone through. Let's bring this down a little bit. And then eventually it'll get to the top of its attack point, and then it'll start entering the decay phase, where it'll start throwing frequencies away again. There we go. And finally it'll settle down at this, which is 452, and we've got, what, 8 harmonics there. If we had no attack and decay whatsoever, we'd get straight there, and there's your 8 harmonics. All pretty straightforward. Then we introduce the release time. So this is what's going to happen after we let the key go. Well, at the moment, release doesn't really have anything to play with the sound, because the VCA, the amplifier, is also set to no release time. So as soon as we let the key go, all the sound stops because the amplifier says so. If we let some of the sound through from the amplifier, we can now start hearing our filter tone. So let's see what we've got. Up, down, hold, and now when I let go, we're going to get, well, watch the graph. You get a little bit of tone attenuation because our initial level is set to non-zero. So basically, whatever you get at the beginning of the curve, where we start at the initial level and then go up to the slider based level, this one here, you get that at the end as well. As soon as you let the release key go, it approaches the frequency specified by the filter slider plus any modulation applied by the initial level, and it'll take this long to get there. If I make the initial level as dramatic as possible, there you can hear the filter sweep carrying on long after I let the key go, and then finally we settle down to this slider plus whatever this thing is. So initial level is a little bit odd because you've got this top and tail, basically a little bit at the front of the filter, a little bit at the end of the filter, tagged on. Everything that we've dealt with for low pass filters also applies to the high pass filter. So now if we get back to a stage where we have no filter settings applied, okay, here we are with the high pass filter engaged, but at the moment we're hearing our regular basic tone because we're letting everything through. If I now start increasing the high pass filter, I'm going to start throwing low frequencies away. There we go. Bring a few of them back in and then increase our resonance. Let's find out where the resonant point is. There it is. Make it a 24 dB filter. Sharpen the filter. No, that's a bit unpleasant, so I won't just keep on holding the key down. Then we've got our envelope that we can apply to that. So, bit of attack, bit of decay. Hold the sustain level, nice sharp resonance spike, and then we let it go. And with don't be fooled by this graph kind of fading away slowly. That's a function of span, because span is a time-based graphical analyzer. Bring our initial level in. Now we start from that lower, we spike right up to the high frequencies, and then if we had a release tail on as well. Then I'd let my hands go, but it's flowing back through the frequency range set by this slider. Let's hear what it sounds like with no initial level set. So we've got sharp spike up to the top, decay down to the sustain point, and then I've let go, and we just fade away gently in volume. The filter shape is being maintained. Bring initial level in, do exactly the same thing. We've got that little extra bit at the beginning because we've now got initial level set. Finally we settle down to our sustain level, and there we go, sweeping through the filter range because of our initial level slider. That's it for this one. In the next episode we'll deal with keyboard sensitivity, called touch response, these sliders here, and we'll have a look at Oscillator 2 and how we mix them together. I'll see you then. Thanks very much for watching.